Hi, I'm Amy Esther, and today I want to share with you my health journey, including endometriosis and PCOS, as well as a few other health problems. I started my journey with so much pain and confusion and feeling alone, and now I'm in a place where I find meaning and purpose in this life that I live with pain. I live with multiple chronic illnesses, two of those being PCOS and endometriosis. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. When I first went to the doctor about my endometriosis when I was probably 16, she said, "Some people have a hard time getting pregnant, but it's fine. You just get surgery and then you can get pregnant." So she just made it sound like it's possible. So I was slightly nervous, but it was one of those things where like, if I thought about it too much, I would get in my head, but overall, I was like, "It'll work." When we got married and decided to start having kids, I was having some health problems, but long story short, they couldn't find it. They didn't know what was wrong with me. They said, "All your blood work's good. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you." Even though I had gone from someone who worked 4 jobs a day, with on like, I did college online so I could work more, and, like, I was crazy. I was working out with a personal trainer, I was eating super healthy, and I then couldn't get out of bed. I was in so much pain, I was so dizzy that I would pass out if I stood up too long. I would have to crawl to the bathroom, like, I was so, so sick. They did all this blood work, they said, "Nothing's wrong with you, all your tests came back normal." And so we were kind of in this weird place of, "Okay, do we start our family?" I'm at home all day, every day anyway. I had to quit my job, and, we were told that everything was good. So that's when we did make the decision like, okay, well, if I am good for whatever reason, I was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia because they didn't know what it was. So they said, well, you're having pain and fatigue. We're going to call it this because we don't know what it is. Um, I will say later we found out that it was POTS, Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia syndrome, which causes my blood not to circulate well, causes gut issues, lots of different things. And with my POTS, I get really dizzy when I stand. I um if I anything I do from like if I bend down or try to do yoga or anything upside down, I'm so dizzy in seconds. I wear super tight compression socks every single day. I If I don't put them on, I cannot get out of bed. I instantly my feet start to burn, I'll get dizzy, and if I go too long, I'll pass out. And so I even sit in the shower because I can't stand for very long. So that those help a lot. I wear these compression socks. I eat a lot of salt because I need a lot more blood supply. So I have a lot of salt and water. I get a lot of headaches. I am very sensitive to heat and cold. So in the summer, if I go outside for even more than like 10 minutes, I will start to feel all of my pot symptoms come up. And it causes a lot of issues with digestion. I've had everything you can think of, stomach scopes, colonoscopies, CT scans, MRIs. Like my gut is so messed up. I even went to the point of going on the lion diet, which is beef, salt, and water. So I only ate those 3 things for 6 months because my gut is so messed up. On top of the POTS, something that some people who have this condition called EDS are more likely to get POTS. I found out actually just a few months ago that I was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia and all the chronic pain I was having, and actually have Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, which is a genetic condition that it's a connective tissue disorder. It was very hard to get diagnosed with, but when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia and I did a lot of research on it and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm gonna live with this. We'll try to have a baby." So it was like a year and a half of different things, ended up getting the endometriosis surgery. I went on a million diets for all of my health stuff. When I was on the paleo diet and I had just got the endometriosis surgeries when I got pregnant the first time. Um, and that one, uh, unfortunately did end in the miscarriage. I started bleeding, and I unfortunately, at the same time as miscarrying, ruptured 2 ovarian cysts at the same time. So mine was extremely painful, and I didn't know what was happening. I knew I was miscarrying because I was bleeding, or I knew it wasn't good. And but I didn't know why I was in so much pain because I kinda did some research while it was happening, and, like, nothing said that it should be that painful. And so I ended up actually going to the ER because we didn't know, what was going on, and, it was my first pregnancy. I was so scared, and that's when they said, like, "Unfortunately, you are miscarrying, and the reason you're in so much pain is I was rupturing cysts on both sides." So, on both sides, I was having a cyst rupture, and then I went home and I cried, and I just it was a very dark time for me, and it it was one of those things that I just didn't think would actually happen. And I remember my first period after the miscarriage. I miscarried, a month or whatever later. I had my first period, and it was super painful. I ruptured another cyst, and I was even more upset because not only was I going through this extra pain of my period that I hated every time it came, but then it was another proof that I wasn't pregnant, and it was really, really heartbreaking. So really when I started looking to it was I was having, pain and fatigue and all these things. I was having my thyroid was swelling. Um, Now it's hard because they kind of all mesh together, but I was having the fatigue. I was having a lot of headaches. I was having miscarriages. So there was just like a lot of things going on, and then I had all of my other symptoms, my muscle aches, my like migraines and everything. And so I actually had a full body scan done once, and they found these little white dots all over my thyroid. And so that's when I started looking into the Hashimoto's disease, and um worked on some things with my thyroid, had my thyroid levels checked and all of that. So I guess it was kind of mixed in with all of the other stuff, but at the time I didn't know if it was just Hashimoto's or something else was going on. But again, it was like for me it was something didn't feel right. And even when I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I'm like, I mean, yeah, I have all the symptoms, but like I talked to people with fibro. I didn't technically pass the test for fibro, but it didn't feel right to me. And I knew something else was going on. And I found out later that I have a connective tissue disorder called EDS, which makes my ligaments and all the things kind of looser. And so it causes pain in lots of places. Um, I'm just hypermobile and I don't know, in different ways, and then I get a lot of pain in my muscles, uh, and my skin is super stretchy. Yeah, so it like, that part's funny, and, like, also I don't get wrinkles because my skin's so stretchy, but then inside, it wreaks havoc on everything. I pretty much always feel like I have the flu, so, like, I have achy muscles, I'm extremely fatigued. If I get up to, just do the dishes, I need to lay down after. So I am in pain all the time, all day, every day, and I'm fatigued all day, every day. It varies, though. Sometimes, um, it is worse than others, and I don't know, it's been a very long journey. This actually all started, it triggered my EDS to start after I got food poisoning. My husband and I got food poisoning right after we got married. His got better, mine never did. So I had all these gut issues. It then spread to fatigue and pain and all of these other things. And so even though I've had this genetic condition my whole life, the pain part of it was kind of triggered from that food poisoning I got. And ever since then, it's been a battle. And then so there are multiple types of EDS. The most common is called hypermobile EDS, and that uh, there's different things that you do with your body. You put your arm out, and if it goes like if your arm is here, then you don't have EDS. But if it goes farther, like more than like 10 degrees or whatever, if you can um, touch the floor from standing is another part of it, and um, moving, like, if you move your finger back, like, how far does your finger go back? And so it's just, like, hypermobile stuff, and then on, there's a Beighton score that goes through, like, 6 or 7 things. If you reach a certain number of those, like, I don't know, I don't remember what it was, but, like, 6 out of 10 or something, then, you move on to the next section, which is, like, is your skin stretchy? Is your have you had prolapse, which I had? Do you have chronic pain and fatigue? And so there's just like a list of things you go down. And if you meet enough of that criteria, then you can be diagnosed with hypermobile. The other types are they have a genetic test for. So you have genetic testing, and I'm actually currently waiting for my genetic testing to come through. So when I see a geneticist, we're going to make sure I don't have any of the other types, but most likely hypermobile EDS. So I definitely have a type of EDS. If all the genetic testing for the other types comes back normal, then it would be considered hypermobile. So it's just like this. Connective tissue disorder I have seems to affect everything. You're more likely to have endometriosis and POTS and all of these other things in most people that I meet who have EDS. I talk to a lot of people with EDS and other health conditions. I have a community that I run. Um, my goal is to help people who are ill all the time to find more joy, find more purpose, find more fun, and cope with the depression, the anxiety, the frustrations. I think there's so much about the physical side of chronic illness, but the mental side of being in pain all the time. And even when it was, my periods and feeling like I was being gaslighted, like there's just so much that goes on with the mental side when you are in pain all the time. And if I guess here's my advice for anybody who is suffering from this, like these conditions we talked about today or anything else. It's like if you're having other symptoms that maybe don't fit into that category, like I was still having the cyst rupts, even though I had my endometriosis surgery, like there could be something going along with it. And I think oftentimes, like for me, I was just pushed off of like, oh, it's just you just have this extra symptom, or like I'd say, like, "I'm so fatigued, I can't get up," and they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm tired too," and, like, no, there's a difference. I'm not just tired, I'm not just this tired mom, like, I literally, like, cannot function normally. I can't take my kids to the park without crashing for 4 days after, like, this is not normal, and if you're seeing something that's not normal, like, keep pushing and keep advocating for yourself, because that's something that took me so many years to figure out and to know what to do. And even with this EDS diagnosis, like that's how I got it, is I figured out I had it, and instead of going to my doctor and saying like, "Oh, I think maybe I have this." I'm like, "I know I have this. I know, like, here's the test." I had a paper that showed all the testing. I'm like, "I will show you that I have this." And like advocating for myself when I knew that, like, of course, if you don't understand and you don't know, ask for help, and you may be at that point, but do your own research, and uh, don't let anything that doesn't feel right to you slip through, because there's symptoms that I've had that seemed like not a big deal, and they ended up being a key to figuring out what was actually going on for me. So I have found a lot of things that have helped. Um, Hysterectomy has helped so much with my endometriosis pain. And I just am so happy I don't have periods anymore. And then I have my compression socks that help with my blood circulation, having a lot of water, drinking a lot of water, having a lot of salt and electrolytes helps with those symptoms. Um, I find that taking magnesium, a good magnesium, helps me for some reason. I get more muscle aches when I don't take that. I have a wheelchair in the back of my van, my minivan. I pull out my wheelchair if I am going anywhere that I have to stand too long or sit too long, because I don't do well sitting with my legs down. The chair I have, actually, I'll show it to you. It has a place for me to sit, so I can sit cross-legged on my chair. Yeah, so, keeping my legs up helps a lot. I pretty much never, unless I'm, like, at church and trying to, look nice for a few minutes, I always have my feet up, and then, strengthening my muscles. Cardio makes me worse, walking makes me worse, but strengthening my muscles helps a lot with my POT symptoms. So I try before bed. I get really exhausted when I exercise, but I try before bed to lift some weights, and that has been helping. I'm hoping to strengthen that this year. And then with my gut issues, I have a lot of gut issues, always nauseous, my stomach always hurts, all the lovely gut symptoms you can imagine. um, when I eat less carbs, and in fact, my doctor recommended eating as little to no fiber. For some reason, my body does not digest fiber. And for so long, everyone's like, eat more fiber. And I would eat more, and I was just getting sicker and sicker. So I did try the Lion diet, which is beef, salt, and water. I would let myself have a scoop of almond butter when I was feeling crazy, but I did that for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, and I stopped a few months ago. I am considering going back on it because my gut felt so much better. For me, the hardest part was actually getting enough calories in, because it was just like, I make another steak. I make another I like steak for breakfast, ground beef for lunch, steak for dinner, and I was like, "Oh, it's expensive," so I would not eat as much, and then I started to lose a little too much weight, and I started to be even more fatigued than I normally am. So that was, like, for me, the hardest part. People keep saying, like, "Oh, weren't you missing food?" I hate eating. I know I shouldn't say that. I despise eating. I just feel sick every time I eat. And so, like, if like, that was actually the best part for me, was that I didn't have to think about what I ate. I didn't have to question if I ate the wrong thing, because I've been on every diet, from vegan to carnivore to everything in between, low FODMAP, cutting out histamines, and like, I've tried all the diets, and this one, which is basically cutting out everything, was what made my gut the happiest. Um, I'm normally super bloated, look like I'm 6 months pregnant after I eat. It was the first time I didn't feel bloated. I was still nauseous. I still had some symptoms, but that was when my gut was the happiest. I just need to be able to afford to eat steak 3 times a day. But my gut was actually the happiest, and my doctor recommended I stay on it, actually, so, yeah. I think my biggest advice is to, if you're struggling with symptoms that don't seem normal, um, find people who understand you, because I think for me, when I started, like, looking up on YouTube, or like, once I figured out like what was going on for me, or finding people that were like, I don't know what's wrong with me, and it's really frustrating, but like finding people who understand, because as someone who's grown up surrounded by people who are relatively healthy, and if they have a condition, there's a medication that solves the problem, and what, or like, they found things to help, or they, get the surgery and then it's gone and they're good. And as someone who, this has been 10 years with some of my symptoms, my whole life with some of the other ones, and it's not going away, and I still have hope. And what I tell myself is like, I don't have to have hope that like I'm going to get cured, but just hope that life's going to get better. That I'm going to be able to overcome this, regardless of whether it's still here in 10 years or whether it's gone. And finding people who understand that helped me so much, because of the mental side that I felt like was not being addressed. And I was depressed, and then I'd tell a doctor, and they're like, "Well, of course you're depressed. You're in pain all the time." And it was like, "Yeah, but what do I do about it?" "Oh, well, take this antidepressant." And it's like, if that's good for you, I'm all for it. I've been on antidepressants. I've done that. But like, I just think that there is so much loneliness on this journey, and when your doctor doesn't understand and your family doesn't understand, it can be really hard to cope with it. And so do your own research, see if you can find anything on your own, and don't let anything slip that you feel like is not normal. Like, bring it up with your doctor, and if your doctor's not understanding you, like, bring it up again, and bring it up, go to a different doctor. Like, it's for me, it has been, I mean, like, 9.5 years or 8.5 years since I started getting my severe symptoms. And I have had to advocate for myself to get the help that I need. And without that, it's it's difficult because we also live in a world that's just so split, and you go on the internet and they're like, "Oh, don't take any of these drugs." And you go to a doctor like, "Oh, just take these drugs." And it's like, "Well, what do I do?" And for me, like with diet, I'm like, I don't know what to eat because people are telling me eat vegan, someone else is telling me to eat carnivore, but like what does my body need? And just because somebody, a doctor or a specialist or someone who seems to know it all says you should do something, if it doesn't feel right to you, don't do it. When I didn't feel right about doing birth control, I'm so glad that that was the one place that I did stand up for myself and say, "No, I don't like the way I feel on this. I don't like the hormone disruption. I'm going to find a different way to deal with this." And so that's what I had to do. And even though some people didn't believe me, and I'm still on this journey, sometimes people don't believe me and will think that I'm not actually as sick as I say I am, or I'm just trying to get out of stuff or whatever. I can only stand up for myself. And when I find, other people who understand what it's like, it definitely helps to talk to them, as well as just um, being able to stand up for myself and what I need. One more thing is my mindset from the beginning was like, give me something to cure me. Like, I'm just gonna go to a doctor, they're gonna give me something, it's gonna go away. And what I've learned on this journey is I get so much further in my health journey by taking it slow. Because at the beginning, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do this super strict diet, and I'm going to take these supplements and this medication, and I'm going to change, my sleep schedule. I was like, I'm going to do all of it at once. And the problem is, if you do start to feel better, you don't actually know what's working. Do you want to do all of that for the rest of your life? Probably not. And if you don't, maybe there's something that's, maybe you're eating a certain food that's making you worse, even though this supplement would make you feel better. So for me, like, I've had to take it slow and say, like, I'm going to figure this out. But when I'm in a rush, when I'm in a hurry, I don't make good decisions. I listen to people that normally I would, stand up for myself, and I just do what they say. Or I spend all of my time and money until I burn out. That's what I did for many years. I just like burn myself out of everything till I gave up. And you've got to take it slow. And the less you're in a hurry, the better. And I always like to tell myself, like, I'm trending upward. We think it should just be like, okay, I'm here and I want to get there. But it's not going to be linear. It's going to be like this. And when I'm in my low point, I just remind myself, like, sweet, this is the lowest I'm going to get. Like, it can only go up from here. And then if it gets lower, I'm like, oh, I thought that was the lowest. I guess this is the lowest. And every time you get to a low point, you get stronger as you climb yourself out of it. You're going to get stronger than if you were just walking on a straight road. If you climb yourself out of those deep holes that you get into in the dark times, then you're stronger for the next time. And that's what I like to remind myself, because even though, I want to be positive, I share on the internet, I share with my community, like, let's, find light in this, let's find joy. But also I'm honest in that that's not a straight line. I'm not just like, yay, I'm happy all the time. I still cry. I had a breakdown a few days ago. Like, I still have a breakdown. And then I'm like, well, the last time I had a breakdown, I got out of it. So now I'm stronger, so I can get out of it again. And it's a roller coaster, but you are trending upward, even if it feels like you're in the low point in your life.